What's going on? This is Richie Contartesi with Seven Figure Commissions, a series of the Next Play podcast where we bring on agency owners, business owners, and sales leaders who are growing their businesses, but really want to continue to drive and get to the next level. And today we have Taylor Beruman on the show. Taylor, thank you so much for being here. But quick background before we get him on. He is actually born and raised from Mississippi. He's not an Ole Miss fan, which is a problem with me, which doesn't make sense, but he grew up in Arkansas, so he's a Razorbacks fan. He currently lives in Texas. He started his career teaching, but ultimately wanted to build wanted to go deeper with the things that he could do, wanted to make more, wanted to be more. And so he decided to embark on insurance. He got into the business and started his agency in 2017 with State Farm and has built it up. He has a team of 5 full-time employees, 3 on the sales side, 2 on the CSR side, and he's continuing to grow and get to the next level. He's done a really good job of keeping his team consistent and moving forward, but now he's continuing to look on growing. So Taylor, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So unfortunately you were born in Mississippi, but you're a Razorbacks fan. We'll let that one go. But tell me, how did you get into insurance? And let's just stay with the agency side because we want to get in the meat and potatoes. Sure. How did you build up your agency to where it is today?
Yeah. So basically, real quickly, I went to work for an agent in Little Rock. So when I tried originally to go right into agency, they kind of said, well, you don't have the experience. You don't have a lot of money saved up. So, we're not sure that we're willing to roll the dice on you. So I said, okay, well, show me, what do I need to do to prove it to you that I can do this? And so they pointed me to this program that State Farm offers called the Aspirant Program, where you basically go work for an agent, you produce in their office, you learn kind of the systems. It's a little more behind the scenes, hand-on, how the sausage gets made type information. You're having these meetings with the agent. And basically, if you can show that you can produce and do well, they will then give you a chance to interview for your own agency. And so that's what I did. It took me about a little under 3 years, coming from education, knowing nothing other than, what we just know as citizens who drive cars and own houses about insurance. So it took me a little bit under 3 years, and I was able to start my agency November 1st of 2017 here in Tyler, Texas. And Tyler's been a great community. It's growing. It's about 100,000 people in Tyler. On any given day, there might be about 200,000 people in Tyler because a lot of the surrounding communities all transitioned or commute into Tyler to work and shop and do things. So a lot of the culture is kind of based around where we live. So I started out, and there was an agent retiring, and I got a piece of his book of business. So that's how State Farm does it. They own the book, and we work it and grow it. So they hire you, and they don't want to give you the whole thing because they think you're going to sit there and not do anything on your laurels. So they give you a small piece, so you got some income coming in. I found the guy that was retiring. I was going to buy his building from him. That didn't work out. So I ended up finding a spot in a shopping center, which is actually better because I got to put my own stamp on things. And I started out with 2 people. I had a service person and a salesperson, and that's all that I had. So immediately I started hiring people. There's a lot that I would do differently from how I started, knowing now what I know. But at the time, I spent all of my money on marketing. And so I said, listen, I'm going to put money out there, and I'm not putting money into any marketing unless it gives me a name and a number. So basically a lead.
Direct response. Yeah.
Right. And because I don't have a lot of cash in my early days, and there wasn't a lot coming in, and it was just hey, we got to get this thing off the ground and growing. So that's what we did. And so we worked. I didn't have a lot of money. So I volunteered all over Tyler. Okay. When we moved here, we moved to Texas from Arkansas, started a business, and we were 2 weeks pregnant, or found out we were pregnant 2 weeks ago from when we moved. Okay. So I had a baby, a business, and a new place of residency all at the same time. So it was a lot. And my wife was a trooper because she never complained. I moved her away from all of her family, and, she's been supportive and really helpful and hardworking. in this business with me, even though she does something different. Her income really supported us during our early years while we were getting this off the ground. And she understood that and got it. And so I think having a supportive home life, a supportive system is so important when you're jumping off and starting something brand new like that.
Could it be more true, man?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything. I mean, I really do attribute our success to her support. And I mean it, because I don't know how else I would have been able to do it single. I would have been up to my eyeballs in debt, probably still.
Yeah.
But she was great. So started doing that, started just volunteering. So I did, I used to be a school teacher. I taught English for 5 years. So I started volunteering with the Literacy Council here, tutoring for folks that are trying to get their GED. I started doing Meals on Wheels, which is a great organization. I'm actually on the board now. I still do it. Every Wednesday I go deliver my route, leave the office for a couple hours, meet some people, get out, do something different, help people. It's nice. I did Therapet with dogs and bringing dogs into hospitals and schools for like therapeutic reasons. I just did everything that I could do because I said I don't have money, but I do have time. And so I made a lot of connections and got plugged into the community through doing that. Then I started having my team look for opportunities for me to do presentations. So I was looking to really grow my life and health book. And so what I did is I had them, anytime that they were talking to somebody in a position of authority, I had them ask one extra question. And that is, do you guys ever have meetings at your place of work for the employees? And they'll say, well, yeah, we have a safety meeting, or we do a quarterly, or we meet at the end of the year. Hey, could we come and bring you guys breakfast or lunch and just tag on and just steal 5 to 10 minutes off the end of that meeting? What do you like? We'll bring whatever you like. And usually they're like, yeah, sure. And I come out there and I just talk about ways that they can protect their income. Okay. And what I'm talking about is life insurance and disability insurance, which P&C is huge and it's really important to me, but life insurance is where I'm really passionate. And that's been a really cool thing. And I don't think any other agents are doing that. And it's led to us. We were the only agency in the last 10 years in our territory that won exotic ambassador travel, which is like the biggest life insurance based award you can win with State Farm. It comes with a trip. That's why they call it that. So we won a trip that year to New Zealand and Australia. And that was smack in the middle of COVID. So it didn't happen, but still was a really cool thing to win. And so that's a point of pride for me, is to win that award every year, some form of the travel award. And to be, I was number 64 out of 19,000 agents for life premium that year. So that was really cool. And I didn't know that was going to happen. That was my second year of agency. And so I really didn't expect that. I was just trying to survive, and you get in the right place at the right time when you work hard enough and trying to think out of the box and doing those presentations. So
I could see you doing really well in that marketing strategy of speaking to sell. Basically, you're doing a presentation, you're giving value. And then in return, some people may be like, hey, like I'm open to a conversation about how you could potentially help me.
Man, it's not a big, intimidating, hard process at all. Like I said, it takes 8 minutes tops. And all I do is I just kind of stand up and I talk about, the why. I tell a couple stories of either people that we were able to help with life insurance or people that unfortunately we did not help. And, something happened and, unfortunately they weren't protected. And so I tell a couple stories. I talk about couple different ways you can use it, like whether you're trying to do that instead of a 529 to fund college savings, whether you're trying to guarantee insurability, you're trying to create a bank that is, can't be touched by any kind of creditors or lawsuits or anything like that, tax-free, accessible growth. So I just talk about all those different things. And at the end, I just say, hey, look, if anything I said resonates with you, put your name and number down on this clipboard and I'll call you and we'll set up an appointment to talk about your needs and find something that meets your budget. So it's really not pushy. It's not anything that, is
what percentage of people would fill out the clipboard?
I've had it. I did a room of 50 people was the biggest room I've ever been in doing that presentation. And I think we got maybe 15 or 20 people signed up on that one, which is pretty dang good. So if you're getting 40%, 30%, yeah, that's killing it. If I can go and talk to 10 people and write 2 policies off of it, that's a win, So, and that's extra on top of what the team's already doing. And, you know, what I do is I let my team find that need or that opportunity for me. And then I bring that team member with me and I allow them to kind of just take it all in. So I'm demonstrating what this conversation looks like so that they can eventually replicate it. Because eventually I'd like for them to be doing all these.
Totally.
And I'm just kind of organizing and overseeing it. Okay. And then whatever leads I give it to that team member that created the opportunity. Okay. So that they can go and get a win, feel good, and then they're incentivized to go out and replicate that again.
Yeah. So is that what you've been doing to this day, or is that what you did before?
It's kind of ebbed and flowed. So it depends on the team that I have. I mean, it's all about your team. And the more that I do this and the more that I work as a owner, you know, I don't want to be the biggest piece of the machinery, right? That's not why I got into this. You know, I want to make sure the machine is running and that it can run whether I'm standing beside it or if I'm 100 miles away, it can run, because I want to open another agency up. And if I do that, I just can't be the powerhouse of two different agencies. That's not going to work.
It's impossible.
So, right. And who wants to do that? Right. So, I found that if I have a team who's really like outgoing and good at networking and things like that, they'll latch onto that and they'll say, hey, I've got a way to get some wins. And if you have a team, maybe it goes kind of dormant for a while and you don't get as many presentations. And, you know, this year I had to kind of rebuild my team. I lost some folks and had to start over. So my first quarter was really not what I wanted it to be, but we turned it around. And last month we broke records for our production overall apps submitted within the office. So over our entire 5.5 years, you know, that was our best month we've ever had was last month. So that tells me that we're now trending back in the right direction. Right. So, which is good. So I can overcome that loss and I know what to do differently now in the future.
So what last month, what did you do that worked so well? I mean, are you still also running ads? Do you buy leads? Do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I definitely buy leads, although I don't like ILPs, like internet lead providers. It's not my cup of tea. It's a necessary kind of evil. And so it's not evil, but it's just, you know, you're getting people who are price centered and who are looking to save money. And that's really not what we do at State Farm. We're not going to be your cheapest option. That's not what I want to be. We're the best value. And so trying to reprogram people from thinking about, you know, 15 minutes or less, you know, quick and cheap insurance. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about running your own ads where you control the offer? Because that's all they're doing. They're running ads to a landing page, taking their information and uploading it into the platform.
You know, it's just, I have to be really careful about compliance and what State Farm will let us do. So that's one of the things that you have to be more careful about. So I don't know that I can even do such a thing, really. Yeah. But I found that working events.
I don't know about State Farm, but I do know like some of the other agencies we work for with Allstate and Farmers, they run ads, no problem.
Yeah.
But
I'd have to look into it. But you know, just doing things in the community, and you know, we used to try to give stuff away. Hey, come in, here's some stuff. Come to my booth and I'll give you these, you know, this swag, and then I'm trying to talk them into signing up so we can quote them later. And I just found like they're just coming for the junk that you're handing out, and that doesn't really work as well. So we stopped kind of doing it that way. And what I started doing is I'll bring my team, I'll sit at the table and give the junk away, and they go out and they talk to the other vendors, they talk to people, they just strike up conversations and naturally network. And what they'll do is in that conversation, they'll tell that person, hey, I'm a State Farm agent. And, you know, I'd really like to see if I can earn your business. Can I quote your business, after they've already had somewhat of a startup relationship with that person, a conversation. And that works so much better. You might not get quite as many leads at the end of that presentation, but those leads are so much better quality. They're not cold. They're warm. They know you. They remember talking to you, and they're giving you permission to quote them. So
they're not like, wait, who are you again?
Yeah. No, I thought I wanted to win some TV or something. No, that was the other booth. That's not.
And that's what you did last month? Is that what you did last month?
No, that's just what we did differently all over. So last month, if you want to know why last month was so much more successful than my January, February, and March, it's because So I lost team members starting out the year, and it was one of those things where I thought I was poised to like really get after it. I said, man, we did great last year. We're rolling. I can't wait until January hits and to replicate that. And then January hit and I lost some people, and I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't at all what I wanted. So what I did is two different things. I hired a recruiting service. Okay. So this is a company. I mean, can I say the name of the company? Is that okay?
Sure, go for
Okay.
it.
So it's a company called Autopilot Recruiting, and he really just caters to State Farm agents, although I think they've recently opened up to cater to all different industries.
Yeah.
And what they do is I have my own recruiter. She takes over and posts all the jobs for me. Okay. Then she screens those applicants, and then she sends me the ones that she thinks are on the same page as what I'm looking for. And then I interview those people and I give them this assessment. And then I use all that information to make a decision. And so I've constantly got people, I'm doing like 2 to 5 interviews a week. Okay. Even when I'm fully staffed up. All right. And
you should be. Good job.
That's the difference, dude. That was everything. So I hired, bam, bam, bam. I hired 3 people, and then I've got 2 more who are going out and getting licensed because somebody probably isn't going to work out. And that way I'll have another one whenever that happens. So you don't want to get caught.
Yeah. So in the beginning of this year, you lost all of your sales agents?
All but one.
Wow. Okay. What was the reason? Were they just like, hey, looking for new opportunities?
No, culture is very important here. I think I do a very good job of taking care of people, paying them right, creating a positive environment. I don't scream and cuss and micromanage and stand over people and do all those things that other agents do. Some agents do, I should say.
For sure.
And so I think that it wasn't, I'll have everybody that leaves always says, oh, you were a great boss. I loved working there. It's just life and things change. And some people got burnt out on sales. They didn't want to do sales anymore. I had somebody else that moved away. I had a guy who he had just gotten out of college and he started with me, and he was really on the cusp of getting the hang of it. But, he said, this is too hard. I want to do something different. I say, yeah, it is hard. I get it. So just a series of events. Yeah. He said, I'm going to go back to school or something like that. I don't know. He's out there doing something somewhere, but by having a steady stream of applicants and hiring people and then putting them in the chair and getting after it, we just turned on a dime and we just started killing it. And so I hope that we can keep doing that. As we're talking, we're on a group thread, and every time they write something, it comes in. So I'm seeing, we just wrote 3 cars. We just did a house. We just did a renters. I got a life appointment. It's coming through. So like all day long, I'm getting encouraged. They're encouraging each other. And it's really been working great. So I don't want to jinx myself, but hopefully we've got that staffing situation figured out.
Well, let me ask you a question. The people that you hired, did they already have insurance experience, or did you have to get them licensed, or did they already have sales experience? Like, what specifically were you looking for that worked?
Well, I don't have any requirements other than I need 2 things out of this person. I need effort and coachability, right? Yeah. Are they willing to do the work? And it's not, they'll be like, yeah, I work hard. I'm like, yeah, well, you're digging a hole, you can work hard. That's not what I'm talking about. This isn't like, stacking bricks up where you can sit there and just do, put the widget on the machine all day long, right? This is a mentally exhausting thing where you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone daily until you get used to being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, can you do that? Can you pick up the phone and call it when you don't feel like it? Can you fake that smile and have that next conversation? When you get a price point that you think is way out of the ballpark, are you just not going to call that person and tell them? Or are you going to call and try to win that over because of our value? Right. That's the type of hard work I'm looking for. And then will you listen to the things that I suggest to you? Because I'll coach you in the moment. And I'm not over the top or intrusive about it. I'll say, hey, can you take some coaching right now? You want some feedback on that conversation you just had? And they say, no, I can't even process that right now. Okay, cool. Come to me when you can. If they say, yeah, tell me. Okay, let's talk about it. This is what you said. I think if you were to say this instead or do that instead, and will they take that and will they do it? Are you going to use the word tracks and the processes that I've laid out for you? Or are you going to try to reinvent the wheel and do it the way that you want to? That's probably not going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had people, I only had one person on my staff right now, sales staff, who came from insurance. Everybody else I have come from other walks of life.
Yeah.
They do have to have a license to start working for me because I can't do anything for you
Right.
if you don't have a license. So, when I interview somebody and I offer them a position and we talk, also when I do interviews, I throw all that interview etiquette out the window. I don't care. You can ask me anything and I'll answer any question. We got to make sure this is going to work for both of us. I'm not trying to trick you into anything.
Right.
Okay. So, and I say, okay, I want to bring you on. And say, okay, cool. What do I do now? Well, now you got to go get licensed. So you can either go get your PNC and life and health, or you can just get your PNC, but you got to get one of those licenses before you walk in the door. Okay. So, and I do that so that they have, some of them need money right away. They need income. So it shortens their ramp up period, but then they have to study at nights and weekends to get the other one. So that's the trade-off because you're not studying in the office. And I'll give you the day off before you take the test. But other than that, that's on you to figure out. I pay for all that, but I do it on the back end. So they have to make it through a 90-day probation. And after those 90 days, basically, I'm just looking for them to put up a certain amount of premium or a certain app count so I can know, okay, they can do this. Now I can invest in them, and I don't even buy them business cards or any of that until they get through that probation. They might get off of it in the first month. They might knock it out of the park. Okay, cool, you're good. Or it might go up to 90 days and they do it in the last minute. And if they don't hit that by 90 days, I'll let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you can't do it in 3 months, it's probably
a lot of times you'll know before that, but
yeah,
but at least like,
right. They'll come into my office and be like, hey, it's been 90 days, man. I couldn't do it. Okay.
So how do you go about like improving performance from a sales?
Oh, man. Yeah. Great question. Training and consistent, constant training is important. Okay. So we train 2 days a week. Okay. And we train for maybe 30 minutes on those 2 days. So it's not a lot, but it is a consistent and frequent thing. Okay. Because I don't want to sit there and just be preaching at them all day, every day. And I found that kind of wears everybody out. It doesn't work.
Yeah, you don't want to do
too
that.
much. Yeah. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it might be we're going to practice the word track. We might be product knowledge. It might be brainstorming ways of marketing or new ways for us to get ourselves out there. Whatever it is, how to get referrals. It might be how to do an onboarding. How to pivot to other products within a conversation. So we just do those systems training and product training consistently. And then, the numbers are going to speak for themselves. I track leading indicator activities. I'm really big on the 4 disciplines of execution. If you ever read that book, it's a great book for anybody who's trying to execute any type of business plan. But lagging indicators like how many policies are on the board. Well, it's too late. The month is over, right? How many quotes did you get? How many calls did you make? How many appointments did you set? How many life conversations did you have? How many health pivots did you have? How many referrals did you get? Okay. These are things we can control.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking at those numbers are more important to me than anything else. And if you're doing all that work and you can't put anything on the board, what's a closing problem? You either can or you can't, or you get better or you don't. And, that's where we have our 90-day probation thing for.
Got it. Okay. So you do a good job of tracking all of the activity-based KPIs. That's awesome, dude. Love that.
We're constantly talking about the score. So you can't win a game if you don't know what the score is. And you don't know what the score is if you're not tracking all that stuff.
Yeah.
So every morning I've got a marker in my hand and I say, okay, Jade, how many calls did you make yesterday? She's going to say, I made 65 calls. Okay, cool. The next person, I made 12. What were you doing? Okay. It's not meant to like embarrass you, but it's also meant to make you think, hey, I got to come up here tomorrow and stand in front of my peers and they're going to ask me how many quotes I got. And if I say I got none or one, that's going to be a problem and be embarrassed. And so it's a motivational technique to talk about it out in the open all together so that everybody is making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So I love that. So if someone on your team, let's say their conversion rate between, let's say quote to close is low or connect to quote, those conversion rates are low. Well, how do you go about helping your team course correct when something's not working out?
Great question. So we actually had this scenario play out. So one of my new people, she's great. She was working really hard. She does the work. She's putting the calls. She'll have 100 calls in a day, 80 calls in a day. And I'm like, okay, you're doing that. How many quotes you get? So I got 8 quotes. Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay. I want you to get 5. And we're talking about auto households quoted. Okay. 5 auto quotes. Okay. You got 8. Wow. Okay. What'd you write? Well, I didn't get any of it. Okay. So here we are, right? Your closing percentage is low. You're not closing. So we started to workshop that one piece of the conversation. So we would practice the close. So I did a whole training on closing and how you assume the sale, how you ask for it more than once, how you fit in what they're already doing into what we're going to do. Hey, you pay on the 5th. Today's the 5th. So you already paid up for this month. Let's go ahead and start you for what we're going to do here is start you for next month on the 5th is when it'll kick in. Okay. All I need is your routing and checking number, and we started practicing. And she even went as far as she was uncomfortable asking people to buy the product, right? She didn't mind talking about it and did a great job and was put herself out there, did the word track. But when it came to asking for the money, man, she just, society tells you that you're not supposed to ask that question, right? And she didn't want to do it. So she put a sign on her desk that just said, don't give them an option. Right. And so she's looking at that sign as she's making her calls. And what she did, she started closing policies. And she went from doing 3 policies or something like that in her first few weeks. And then she put up 15,
Dang.
And I think that now, we're going to get her up to 20 plus this month. So it's just a matter of not everybody can do that. And it doesn't always work. And that's why you have to have accountability measures like, hey, if you don't do it by this date, we're not going to be able to work together anymore. It's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for me. Because I'm real soft. I mean, the more kids, all the kids and everything have made me soft. And, I just cry at commercials and I don't want to fire anybody. And I like all the team and I like their family. And, it's just, I'm just a shell of what the tough guy that I was at one point in my life. But I had to put these measures in place so that we could continue to grow. And you just kind of put the oil on the squeaky wheel. You find out what's the thing that's holding us up and you work that out. And if they can't work that out, they got to go somewhere else, unfortunately.
Yeah. So what's one thing that you're really focused on from a leadership standpoint on just improving and getting better from a course correction or an accountability or a coaching standpoint? Where do you feel like you can really continue to improve and grow your agency?
I think that investing in the team is the most important way to grow your agency. It's a very competitive market. I mean, there's an insurance person on every corner and every one of them is hiring all the time. Okay. So why would they want to work for me if they can go work for somebody else and it's easier with more money? Okay. So you have to create a positive culture. And that's the most important thing about my agency is our office culture. Okay. It's a fun place to work. Everybody likes each other. We get along. We're focused on the goals and we know what the goals are. And we're going to strive to hit those goals. But I'm going to put bonus money out there. I don't even do PTO anymore. I don't care. If you can get it done, you take as many days as you want to, as long as the numbers are going on the board and there's somebody here to answer the phone. Being a human, empathizing with them. I had a team member who got married, took off a bunch of time to get married, right? And go on a honeymoon. Okay, great. And also was my number 1 salesperson. Okay. So yeah, the more value you give to me, the more value I give back to you. It's an exchange of value. So she does that. Okay, great. She comes back. Well, guess what? Her grandmother, who's in Georgia, had a stroke and is not doing well. Well, you need to go be with your family because that's more important than what we're doing over here. Okay. So she went and did that. And I let her, have as much time as she needed. And all I gave her back was support. I treated her the way I would want to be treated if that was my situation. Right? Because they can go work for anybody. Why would you keep working for me? So it's all about that and putting opportunities out there for them to win, for them to take ownership, have their ideas heard. All of that's important.
Yeah. So what's your next play as an agency owner on continuing to get to the next
awesome
level?
Yeah. So I want to keep growing. And I'm trying to grow. I've got goals for, what I want to grow each month and how I want to end the year and what I want my bonus to be and all that. But my big zoom out overall goal is to open another Taylor Beruman State Farm. Okay. So I'm giving myself about 2 years to do that. I've been thinking about it and putting things in place to kind of get ready for that already. And hopefully I can do that. I want to build an office that I own. I'm still leasing a spot right now, and I really would like to have some equity and ownership in how we do business and where we do business. So building an office and getting another agency are my two like big goals right now.
Yeah, I love that. So what's been holding you back in the past from getting there? Is it the
Yeah,
shift in your
so
team?
well, so one, building an office, it's just financially a lot to invest, and especially with all the crazy stuff that's been going on with the cost of construction and all that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, maybe I should wait a little bit until it makes more sense, because we're not struggling and everything's fine where we are. So I'm really just opportunity and time with that. With getting another agency, I got to make sure that this one is running exactly the way I want it to before I can step out and take on more responsibilities and spread myself a little thinner. That means I'm going to be
Yeah.
around here less. And what I need is to create a structure within my team where basically I've got managers, like a general manager of sales and a general manager of service in each agency, that know the systems and can replicate that, so that I'm delegating down to them who are delegating down to the others. Otherwise, it's chaos and I'm going to be all over the place and stressed out all the time. So if we can keep trending in the direction we're trending this year, shouldn't be a problem. We should be fine. And all of that comes back to what? Recruiting and hiring.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about the team. They're the ones that are doing the work in the trenches. I'm the one that's making sure that everybody has the right tools and that we're doing it ethically and honestly.
Yeah. So from a sales leadership standpoint, do you feel like, you do these 2 trainings, you're looking at all of the activity-based KPIs, and when there's a sales rep that's struggling, you're going to address this during the 2 trainings that you have, right? Like that's your current
That is.
leadership.
Plus, there's
Yeah.
always an open door policy that, hey, if you want to come in here and talk about anything, I'm here. I'm here every day. I don't just like not come into work or anything.
Right.
I mean, there are
Where's
agents
Taylor
that
today?
work less. Yeah. When I worked for an agent, it was like, I didn't know if they were going to be there or not some days. And, so it's important to be here and to be available, and coaching in the moment is really important. So, maybe I'm hearing a conversation and it doesn't really go the way that it's supposed to. They're not saying the pieces that they've been trained to say. So I might step in and say, hey, what's going on? Let's talk about what that conversation you just had. Or they knock it out of the park and I say, hey, I want everybody to hear exactly what she just did. This is what she said. This is how it went. This is where she pivoted. This is how she got the referrals. Right. Just addressing it while the attention is on it and it's fresh in everybody's mind is really important. But yeah, other than that, there's the 2 planned trainings. And then once or twice a year, we'll do like a in-service day. Like, hey, come in on a Saturday morning. I'll buy you guys breakfast and lunch. And we're just going to kind of check back in and make sure we're on track for our goals and kind of refresh, end of year type stuff.
Got it. Okay. And so, but your goal though is like, hey, I want to be able to open a second agency or an additional agency, and I would like to have leadership in place where because right now basically you're leading both teams, right?
Yeah,
you're doing
correct.
the training. And so do you feel like there's anyone on your team right now, I guess possibly the only person that stayed from before, who could step into that role? Or are you thinking you're going to hire someone outside to do it?
No, I would definitely move somebody up into that role from within, because I think having the experience, knowing what I'm looking for, you've already earned my trust. It's just easier than outsourcing that. So, I've got an office manager. She would be the head of service. And then I've got my head salesperson that I was just telling you about. And she's been with me for a couple of years now. I would move her over into the head of sales. So I'd probably bump her salary up, her base, and give her more like coaching responsibilities, kind of more of the agent stuff, what I do. And then any sales she does, she can make her commissions and stuff on that still too, of course.
Yeah. Well, is that something you're currently in the process of doing, or that you were thinking
Well,
about
we talk I'm an open book. I'm very transparent. I talk to them about what I want to do and what I'm trying to do and how close we are to doing that all the time. I talk to them about who I have picked for that. Hey, I want you for this. I just want you to let you know I've got plans for you. And this is what that would look like. And all I need you to do is help me to get there by doing the job that you're currently in,
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would do that. And then, if I open another one up, I might move temporarily one to the new one to train up and get that one, you know what I'm saying? Kind of spread it out.
Yeah.
And then once they're good, bring them back in, or, however it shakes out, maybe leave them there.
Yeah. Is there what's holding you back from putting someone in that sales leadership role right now so you can really continue to focus on growing the business?
I just really wanted to have some consistent production. So let's say that, because especially with January and February and March being as shaky as they were, things started to turn around in April, but it still wasn't a great month. And then May, we knocked it out of the park. If we can knock it out of the park June and July, there's nothing stopping me. I'm ready. I'm going to go talk to, my sales leader and say, hey, we were talking about me having another agency. I think I'm ready. I've got all the licenses and all the things that they want me to have. Need to have a certain amount of money in the bank to kind of feel good about taking that risk. Which we've got that. So, I mean, we're really close. It's just a matter of seeing that I don't want to jump off onto something else and then have this not be as solid as I thought it was.
Yeah,
So I'm
totally.
really just making sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's important, especially since you've only have like a month basically of
Yeah.
proof.
Sure.
I'm just curious, man. Like I love that you do the 2 dedicated trainings every week. And I think that's above and beyond what most do. Have you ever thought about implementing like weekly one-on-one coaching and accountability sessions with each one of your team members to review their KPIs and help them determine a next action step? Is that something
Yeah.
you've
We kind of do that, not as consistent. It's more of like a quarterly, middle of the year, end of the year type stuff. Or here are your numbers, and let's talk about that. But we're talking numbers and stats like constantly, so everybody kind of knows who's putting up the most apps, who's doing the most quotes, who's making the most calls. So it's kind of already in our consciousness because we're just always talking about it. But it probably would benefit us to spend a little bit more time doing those one-on-ones. But then it's also like, I don't want to do too much of that because then they don't have time to go and sell because you're constantly training. So you kind of have to walk that line and make sure it's still beneficial, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the 2 group trainings, do you feel like is that something you've always done?
No, I used to train every single day, and I got some feedback basically that this is too much. This is overload. So, I'm not just talking to talk. Like I said, I don't care. I don't have an ego about this kind of stuff. I just want to better my staff and my agency. So I started to look at maybe less is more, but be more impactful with the trainings that we do have. I mean, we still meet every single morning. But that meeting is just really putting up the numbers from the day before. What I talk about is
Daily huddle.
Keeping score. Yeah, it's like a daily huddle. Here's the score. Here's what we're working for. What do you guys got going on today? How was yesterday? And then if anybody has any good like case studies, I closed a big household. Well, talk to me. How did that go? How did that come about? Where'd you find them?
Yeah.
And how'd you get that? Or hey, I got 7 referrals yesterday. Oh, that's awesome. Tell me about what you did. Did you use our system, or did you do something different, or where'd they come from? Things like that.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. I mean, so the reason I bring up the one-on-ones for you is because like obviously your team had a great month last month, but a lot of times, like especially salespeople, and you know this, there's ups and downs, and so you'll see a lot of like feast famine type production. And so what we found, whether we're working with companies like IBM or small businesses with 3 to 5 to 10 sales reps, is the consistent focus for your sales reps individually on what they're doing on a weekly basis outside of just trainings.
Sure.
And also that relationship building aspect of it makes a huge difference in consistent performance long term. And so I love that you had this month last month, and I want you to build on it this month. And so the group is really good, but those personalized individual coaching sessions change people's lives. So, I mean,
Sure.
this is just this is your
No, yeah, yeah.
agency, your world, man. I just feel like based on everything that we've shared, I think a simple 20-minute meeting once a week could increase production by like 25-30%.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah. Have you ran them in the past?
Have I done what now?
Have you ran these type of sessions in the past?
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that we do is when I do have a new team member, which I've got several right now, uh, we meet every 30, 60, and 90 days.
Yeah.
And we have a really big one-to-one meeting like that. So yeah, but you're right. I probably would benefit from doing a more focused conversation that is already just kind of on the calendar. Like, hey, every Friday we're going to do this or whatever. However I do that, consistency.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. Like, you want them to be consistent. It's like, how can we be consistent with them? And if you look at
Sure.
like, I mean, sales is a sport. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
It's 100% a sport. And so if you look at the best athletes, what do they do to stay consistent and improve their game? They go play, they review the KPIs, they watch the game film, and then they create a game plan for the next week. And they do
Right.
this consistently on a weekly basis. And the athletes and teams that do this really well get good results. And the ones that don't, right? And
Sure.
so if you look at like long-term consistent performance, I just feel like this could be another tool in your tool belt that you could pull out that could keep your team members on track. You'll also know way ahead of time if anybody has any plans on leaving, because that's part of these sessions.
Hmm.
And some of those things that might have happened in the past probably wouldn't happen in the future.
Yeah. Sure.
So if you want, I could quick go over a simple agenda for these for you. They're really simple,
Yeah.
but 20 minutes in and out. And as far as the KPIs go, like it sounds to me like you're doing an awesome job of tracking all the activity-based KPIs. You start off the meeting like wins, couple minutes. What are the things that went really good for you? Same thing you're doing in your dailies, but for
Mhm.
them specifically, like from a sales person or a sales leader standpoint,
Yeah.
like what are the things that you feel like you've done to improve as a professional or as a person? And then their KPIs, like here's all your KPIs and the conversion rates for this entire week. How do these conversion rates compare to the week before? What do they look like? And the week before and the week, like how are you improving consistently across all of your activity-based KPIs? And then based on that, you can determine what their next play is going to be for the next week. So this week, your focus is going to be on, you're giving quotes, but you're not closing. Are you doing something what's called a temp check? And this might be something you implement where after you go through the pitch and the policy on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel this aligns with your goals? Well, if she's getting 7s, her pitch is the problem. If she's
Right.
getting 10s, but she's not closing, then the discovery is the problem. So, and then you can coach, like, then she walks away with a very specific next play. In a team group setting, it's tough for everybody to walk away with like core focuses. Whereas
Sure.
everyone can learn something, and I think you should do them, but you see a little bit of a difference between them having that specific next play versus like the group learning from a training, which you should do. But they're just a little bit different. Does that make
Yeah. No,
sense?
absolutely. Yeah. Sure.
And so the other reason I bring this up is because, you know, like the teams that have consistent elite performance long term are the ones that have leadership systems in place. You have a leadership system. You're doing daily huddles. You're doing 2 trainings a week. They can walk into your office when they have any questions, right? Like you
Yeah.
have things in place. And so sometimes those are hard to replicate, especially the trainings.
Yeah.
However, if you want to be able to put someone in a sales leadership role, there's certain things like if we have this platform or this sheet that we use for each one of the reps, and we put in their wins, we put in their KPIs, and we help them determine a next play. And we could see that over time, I can then bring in another sales leader and say, one of your roles is coaching and accountability, and here's how you're going to do it. And it's very systemized so that you can bring leaders in. And then, because conducting trainings, that's a different skill set. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they got to learn that, but that's a much harder to replicate because you've been doing it for so long, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, again, one tool of the tool belt that will help you get in a position where you can start backing up from the sales team and start putting people in place to run it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you feel like is a good next play for this podcast for you for moving forward and potentially implementing something like this?
Well, so I would have to come up with that system of like, okay, how am I going to do these one-to-ones? What forms am I going to use to track this? What do I want to focus on? Get all that kind of lined out, and then introduce it to the team, basically, that we're going to start doing these check-ins. But yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, just from your team, your team more than anybody, right? And I'll never know your business as well as you do.
Sure.
Do you feel like right now is a good time for you to do something like this?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming off of a win. Everybody's feeling good. It's nice out there. Everybody's got a good attitude. We're having fun. We're getting hits. We're winning. So it's a good time to introduce something like that. And the new ones have already kind of absorbed the flow of what we're doing already. They're kind of in the groove right now. So this is a good time, rather than waiting a long time and then introducing it, where they're already like, well, hold on, I don't want to change now because I'm consistent. People don't like to do so. Now's probably the best time to do it.
Yeah. Okay. And then, one thing that it gets brought up a lot, so I figure we should throw this out, is micromanaging, right? The last thing we want to do is micromanage.
Right.
And you might have someone on your team like, wait, we're going to, even if it's only 20 minutes, we're going to meet every week. Like, so for you, like, what do you feel like you can share that will help them realize that this is what the best of the best do? This isn't micromanaging. This is purely about helping you become an elite performer on a consistent basis.
Well, for one, you got to talk like that. So you got to talk to them as hey, my goals, they need to know that that's important. My goal is for us to be the best that we can be. And that's, by doing that, is just kind of like what you were saying. Hey, this is how athletes get better. This is how teams get better. This is how businesses get better, is by direct action. Right. So that's what we're going to start doing this. We want to be at the top of the list when it comes to State Farm agents. So we're going to do, it's necessary to take us to the top. And that's one-on-one focused training in short bursts like that.
Love that. Okay, cool, man. Awesome. Feel good about it?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, if anybody wants to find you or connect with you, Taylor, what's the best way to connect? They might be interested in working with you. They might be interested in insurance with you. How can they connect with you?
You can Google Taylor Beruman State Farm, and you're going to come up to our website. It'll pop right up here in Tyler. You can email me at taylor@taylorberuman.com, or you can find us on Facebook and like our Facebook page, and you can communicate with us through that. So, whatever is easier. You can text our office. Just Google it, find the number, text that number. We're very accessible.
Awesome. Cool. Is there any questions that I didn't ask or anything that you wanted to share that I didn't hit on with you?
No, but we talked about it, but I'll just kind of say again that, the most important thing when it comes to this, don't make it too hard. We're not, doing brain surgery or rocket science over here. We're selling insurance. And the most important thing you can do is take care of the people and put the people's needs first. And if you're doing that, everything's going to be okay. So if you're honest and you're ethical and you're putting the work in, and you're not trying to just, I want to do whatever I can do to win, but I want to do whatever I can do to help people. That's where you're going to thrive. So take care of your customers and take care of your team.
Love that. Awesome. So well said. Taylor, it's been awesome having you on the show, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so for everyone listening, if you're on YouTube and you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe. If you're on Apple or Spotify and you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a review. Want to hear from you, what you like, what you don't like, etc., so we continue to improve the show. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay. Thank you.